To my channel. My name is Megan. If you are new here, thank you so much for watching. We are filming in the car today, which I know is not the cutest aesthetic, but if you guys watched my life update video, there were so many instances in that video where you could hear the girls, and it's just like so distracting for me in the house too, because I feel like if I hear them, I'm constantly wondering like, does Daniel need me? Like, should I go down? What's going on? All that stuff. So I don't really have anywhere else to go. So we were filming in the car today because I wanted to do a little sit down video with you guys. If you're new here, I have identical twin girls. They are 5 months old, and we just got back from our first family vacation. And I got so many questions about traveling with babies, tips and tricks, where to stay, what to do, things to pack, all of that stuff. So I wanted to kind of do a little video that compiled all of the tips. Before going, I am very much a type A organized person, and so I did so much research in terms of like what to bring. I talked to so many moms, whether it was one baby or twins, about their experiences. I read tons of articles and blogs, and I kind of compiled a list of things to do. And now that I've had my own experience, I kind of want to share like what worked for us. Obviously, every vacation is going to be different for every single person, like where you go, what your family dynamic is. So take whatever you want from this video, leave whatever doesn't serve you. It's totally up to you, but I just kind of wanted to compile a list. So in terms of the structure of this video and what I want to share, I want to talk about specifically like packing your carry-on items and airport requirements. I want to talk about navigating the airport and tips for being on vacation itself, and like when you're booking a vacation and like things to look for. And I want to share some of the items that we loved while traveling. So let's dive into it. So for reference, we just went on our first family vacation. Like I said, we went to Florida. We specifically went to Hollywood, and we stayed just off Hollywood Beach in an Airbnb. We traveled with my in-laws, my parents joined, and Daniel's sister and her family were there. So we were like a big group, just for reference. So some of the stuff that I'm gonna share has to do with like people being there and able to help us. So obviously if you are just traveling alone with your baby, it might be a little bit of a different story, but I wanted to share that nonetheless. Okay, so in terms of the airport itself, when you travel with a baby, or in our case twins, you are allowed to bring obviously your own items depending on what type of ticket you bought. So like your personal item and your carry-on bag. And then for each baby, you're allowed to bring a diaper bag, and it doesn't matter the size. So this is really where you want to maximize the size. So I'm talking like a duffel bag, a bigger backpack, like use it as a diaper bag and use it for other things as well if you want to bring that on board. And you're allowed to bring 2 bigger pieces, such as a stroller, a car seat, or a playpen. So 2 of those items are free, and you can either check them or you can gate check them. Or depending on the size, you can bring them on the plane and they can go in the top carrier. So we decided on our trip that we were just going to be bringing the strollers for the girls, just because on the other side of our trip, our Airbnb had a crib. We were renting a crib, which I'm going to talk about in a second. And then also we didn't want to bring our car seats because I heard from different moms that sometimes they can be pretty rough when you check your car seat, and so I really didn't want it to get damaged or anything because it's so expensive, especially for 2 babies. So we chose to just bring strollers. And so part of that tip that I want to share is, depending on the stroller that you have back home, we have the Bugaboo Donkey 5, and it is very expensive, especially with like getting the extension kit to fit twins. So we actually just purchased 2 small travel, like umbrella style, like cheaper strollers to bring on the trip, and that way, like if anything happened to them, then I wouldn't be worried, and also it was good enough and small enough to travel with versus like our big honking stroller. We also didn't want to travel with car seats, like partially to not ruin ours, and partially because on the other side we were renting a car and it came with car seats. So that was just like our journey. But yeah, you can bring stroller, car seat, or playpen situation. So another tip, if you are bringing your car seat, this depends on the flight that you're going to, but you do have the option to take it all the way to the the gate counter, and once they've established the leftover seats, if there's extra room on the plane, you can opt to ask them for a seat where your car seat can go on, and they will actually give you a seat for free, where you can have your car seat and your baby in the car seat instead of lap holding your baby. So that is the next part that I was going to share. We traveled with 2 babies under 2, and they travel for free. We did not purchase seats for them, which for us, it was totally fine. It was a 2 hour and 45 minute flight. So for me, it wasn't a big deal to just like hold my baby the whole time. But if you wanted to, you could purchase a seat for your baby just so you have that extra room. Completely up to you and your like financial situation. So that is like in terms of like the airport side of things, of the requirements that they allow you to have in terms of like things that you can bring. And then when it comes to your carry-on and your diaper bag and like items that you want, my suggestion is have everything for your baby on you, because if you get a bag lost or there's a delay or whatever, like you will be fine with the clothes on your back and you can go get whatever food, but your baby has certain essentials that they need. And so my suggestion is to have that stuff on you as much as you can. So I'm talking like several changes of outfits, lots of access to diapers, access to food. So this depends if you're breastfeeding or not. In my case, I was not breastfeeding, so I made sure that all the formula was on me. That's the other thing with traveling with a baby. You do get a pass on the formula you're bringing. So that's also breast milk. So if you're traveling and you're pumping, you can go through security with the liquid. You don't have to obviously get rid of it. And in terms of powder, you can bring whatever you want in terms of the powder. It can be opened, like an open can or an unopened can, it doesn't matter. You can also bring water for the formula. So we just pre-filled bottles with distilled water so that we had that. And you can pack as many as you need. You can pack liquid formula, like you get a pass for baby food. It's just when you go through security, they will kind of like have you step aside and they just check everything. They do like a scan on it. So that's just something to give you in terms of like the timing. Going off timing, I would give yourself extra time, just because with a baby, and in my case 2 babies, there is delays. Like, you just have more stuff than you're probably used to traveling with. You're navigating like your baby, whether it needs to feed, they have a blowout, going through security, you have an extra stop to make just because they do want to go through your stuff if you are bringing food for the baby over. So all of that stuff like causes delays. So I would give yourself like extra time just to make sure you can get on the other side, because you also get priority boarding, which means you get to be one of the first people who board the plane, and they start priority boarding even earlier. So it's like you want to navigate like enough time to get through the whole process, but also getting on the other side, and then being there for priority boarding, because then you have access to the luggage compartments above you and getting settled on the plane if you need to. So that would be like my tips for what to pack and what you can bring on the plane. And the last little piece, which we didn't end up using, I think the girls are just like a little too small, and honestly they were fine to just like sleep the whole time, but basically like on your carry-on or in your diaper bag, you want to have new toys. And what I mean by that is like you want to have things that the babies like aren't used to seeing all the time, so that it'll be like brand new and stimulating for them. So I made sure to just buy a few new things that they could have and play with if they needed it. And also, I don't know how you feel about screen time. Again, we didn't have to use it, but pre-download some like CoComelon, Peppa Pig, something with bright colors to like stimulate them on your iPhone, on your iPad, just in case of like an emergency and your baby's just popping off crying, like just throw something on. So I would say like have that ready to go for you. Okay, in terms of navigating the airport itself, like I said, give yourself ample of time to get there, with enough time to get through everything and get on the plane. But in terms of getting around, bring a carrier or get yourself some sort of carrier. We have the Baby Bjorn mini carrier. Daniel and I each have one, and we each carried a baby. This was a lifesaver, especially like at the point when you are almost ready to board the plane. So basically what we did when we got to the airport, we unloaded everything, and then Daniel left and he went and parked the car. So I was with the babies and our luggage, and we put the babies in our strollers that we brought just to navigate going through the airport, so that we weren't like holding a baby and we could be hands-free and we could use some of the storage in the stroller. So put the babies in the stroller, get through checking, get through the luggage area, and get through security. You will have to take your baby out of the stroller to go through security together, and they will bring your stroller through. But for the most part, they can stay in the stroller the whole time. Then when you are getting ready to board, you want to put the baby in the carrier, because this will give you hands-free to like hold your carry-on, hold your passport, like put some luggage on top of the compartment, like whatever you need to do. That's what you want to make sure you have, is you're just like hands-free and you're not like fumbling with a baby, and you want to be safe as well. So carrier was such a lifesaver for getting like on the plane itself. And then the other tip I'll have for navigating the airport is we got the big red gate check bags for our strollers. I would suggest if you're bringing your car seats, playpen, stroller, get them. They're like just like honestly like windbreaker material, and they literally are bright red and they say gate check on them, and those are just so easy to spot, and then you can just like know that it's getting put on the plane, and you can see it when it comes off of the plane. So that would be another tip that I have. In terms of like booking flights, that was a lot of tips that I got, and like trying like navigate it so that it's around your baby's nap time. I don't know, like for me, I didn't have like the luxury of like picking that many flights, especially from like the smaller airport that we went from. So we just had one option, which was like the crack of dawn, like really early in the morning. I think it was a 6:40 a.m. flight, and then on the way back it was the opposite. It was like at 7:40 at night. So if you have that option and it's not more expensive, great. But honestly, like, your baby will go with the flow. It's such a new environment. They'll be so stimulated by the lights, the noises, and everything around them that it's honestly like, I think you're okay. And just do whatever you can to like allow them to sleep when you want. So we would just like do laps of the airport in the stroller, and just kind of like let them hang out. So those would be my tips for navigating the airport side of things and like getting on the plane. The last little bit that I'll share for like booking is if you have this option and it doesn't like charge you an arm and a leg to pick your seats. This is specific to twins, but you and your partner cannot sit beside each other in the same row. And the reason for this is because there's not enough oxygen masks for 2 babies plus the number of seats there are. So you have to just make sure that when you're booking your seats, you are booking like aisle, and aisle is like the best case scenario because you're technically right beside each other. You have access to the aisle if you need to get up and like walk around or go to the bathroom, etc. But you're not like stuck in the window and your baby's like going crazy and like having a fit and stuff. So that's just specific for twins. Obviously, if you have 1 baby, you can sit wherever you want, but that's just something to keep in mind, is that there's not enough oxygen masks for you both to sit together with 2 babies. So just factor that in when you're picking your seats. And I would also suggest, if you can and financially it's okay, booking as close to the front as you can, because that will also ensure that you are first off, because the moment you stop moving and your baby like knows it's time to go, they're gonna want to get up and get out of there. So you want to make sure you're like first out of the gate off that plane. Okay. So tips for vacation itself. Obviously, this is gonna be different for every single person because it just depends what kind of vacation you are going on. If you're in the like initial stages of planning your vacation and you're kind of just deciding like what you want to do, these were the tips that I received when we were planning our vacation. So option 1 is doing an all-inclusive. If you want to go the all-inclusive route, I think it's a great option. We wanted to explore that option, but it honestly was just so expensive for the time of year we were planning. Like, I was shocked at the pricing and just like not about to pay that price, because Daniel and I also don't drink. So I'm like, what am I getting for this price? So, couple things to consider with an all-inclusive. Most resorts will provide you with certain things. They will provide you with a high chair, they will provide you with a crib, and some resorts will even provide you with a stroller. So that's something to consider, that you don't have to navigate packing. One thing that I was told, if you are booking an all-inclusive, especially if you have a young baby, so like in my case, I had 5-month-old girls, and because of like the early bedtime, couple things. If you can, upgrade to a room that has a separate room, because when the baby goes to bed and the baby needs quiet and darkness, you don't want to be trapped in the same room as them, because most like hotel rooms or all-inclusive rooms are just like one big suite, right? So you want to make sure that if you can you get a room off of the main suite? So whether that's just 1 bedroom and the crib is in there, so that way you can shut the door and have the monitor on them, and you can still like enjoy the night and not have to go to bed at 6:30, 7 o'clock. Another option, again, this is an upgrade, but this is like highly suggested, is getting a room that has a pool off of your room. Because again, once the baby goes to bed or during those times that the baby is napping, you don't want to feel like you're just stuck inside of your room when you're in this beautiful location. So if you can financially afford it and have that pool add-on to your room, you can at least like enjoy your space and not feel like you're kind of like stuck inside. And the last thing to consider with an all-inclusive that was suggested to me, and this pretty much only matters, I think, if you are bottle feeding, is that you need to make sure that you have access to clean water. And if you don't have access to clean water, like a bottled water for cleaning your bottles, that you have some sort of like kitchenette where you can boil water and you are cleaning your bottles properly. So that's something to factor in. And with twins, I was like, oh my gosh, like that is way too much to think about. So that is something to consider with the all-inclusive aspect. And the last thing to consider is how far away your resort is from the airport. And keep in mind, the shuttle often will not have availability for hooking up your car seat or anything like that. So you're taking the risk where you're holding your baby. So next thing that was recommended to me, which is what we did, was an Airbnb and renting like a bigger space that, like, this is obviously if you're going to like a hotter location, but that had a pool. So this was where I wanted to go because I didn't know like how mobile I was gonna be with the girls. Again, I've only had them for 5 months. A big part of their life has been in the winter where we've been like cooped up at home. So I was like, you know, I don't know how often we're gonna be able to get out. I don't know how they're gonna do off the routine. So I really wanna make sure my home base is like, feels luxury and feels big enough where I'm not like cooped up to like one small little like condo room. So you want to make sure that you're getting a space that feels big enough and homey enough that you can kind of like get settled, because you're gonna have a lot of stuff. We traveled with like more people, so like I wanted space and I wanted a pool, because as much as we were on the beach, I was like, I've never been to a beach with my babies, so I don't know if I'm gonna be going every day. I don't know what the sun is gonna be like. I don't know like if they're gonna enjoy it. It's gonna be too hot, blah, 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 blah. So I wanted to make sure that I had a pool, and that was really important for me. So finding like an Airbnb, and maybe like when you and your partner traveled before kids, you kind of just like got something cheap, or like, you know, you assumed like I'm never gonna be in the Airbnb, so I don't care like what it looks like because I'm gonna be out exploring. Like, it's just different when you have kids, and especially twins. You just want to make sure that you like spend a little bit more money on your home base, because you will be spending more time there. It's just inevitable with babies. Like, they can't be on the go all day, all night long, right? You're gonna have to kind of be home sometimes with them. So that is something to consider. The other tip that almost everyone recommended to me, especially twin moms, is if you can, travel with your parents or your in-laws, or you know, maybe another couple, or just like people that you trust, that you would enjoy traveling with, because otherwise like you and your partner, especially with twins, are on all the time, the entire vacation with the babies. So we were really fortunate. We put out the call like, hey, does anyone want to go on vacation? And so many hands raised. So like I said, we traveled with my parents, my in-laws, and Daniel's sister's family. So there was so many people to like help out with the girls, but that was just like a game changer, and it truly felt like a vacation for Daniel and I, because we had help and people to take care of the girls if Daniel and I wanted to go for a walk, or wanted to go to the beach, or wanted to like have a little bit of time for ourselves. We had other hands to help us. This is also really helpful in the airport and just like along the way. So if you have that relationship with someone and they're open to going on vacation with you, I would just like highly recommend traveling with people to give you guys a break and some one-on-one time as well, because that's very important. Other tips for vacation is we really just like went with the flow. We went into the vacation saying like, I'm not gonna be rigid with routine. I'm not gonna stick to this like strict schedule with the girls. I'm gonna allow them to nap when they want to. The one thing that we were going to stick to was, again, this is very specific to twins, was putting them down for a nap at the same time and waking them up at the same time and feeding at the same time. So we were always sticking to like them doing things at the same time, but when that happened, I was okay for it to change. I will say that I didn't give the girls as much credit or thought about this like in the beginning, but they were such troopers. And that's honestly what everyone said to me, is that like babies can be adaptable, just like give them the space to do so. And they were so just like stimulated and like taking in their sights around them that I didn't feel like I needed to entertain them with toys and stuff like that. Like, they very much were like on the go with us. We did tons of walks. We would just sit by the pool. We would go in the pool. Like, we'd go out to the stores or the mall or to dinner and lunch, and they just like did really well because they're just like taking it all in. So if you are traveling, like, don't feel like you need to stick to the same routines that you have at home. Don't feel like you need to like stick to indoors and like entertain them with toys. Like, your baby will just like soak up your surroundings like a sponge. So just like go with the flow, enjoy your time. My last tip for like on vacation, again, this is more so if you're getting an Airbnb. I don't know if this like is everywhere by any means. I know it's like in the US and we traveled to the US from Canada. So there's a website called BabyQuip. A lot of moms talked about this, so we ended up using it, and basically it's people who post, they essentially have profiles, and on their profiles they have different things that you can rent when it comes to baby equipment. So you can go on there, and so if you don't want to like travel and bring everything from home with you, you can rent stuff per day from this BabyQuip website. So for us, we rented an extra crib because the Airbnb only came with one. We rented a couple play mats, which we did use for like those like morning wake windows. And we rented 2 Bjorn bouncers because we use those every single day here at home, and we specifically use them for like feeding and whatnot. So that was really important for us to have on vacation, but I didn't obviously want to like travel with those. So that's what we rented, but you can literally rent anything from monitors to bath seats to toys, bedding, pool items, like any type of electronic for babies, fans, like you name it, they have like every baby related item. So you can rent a lot of this stuff and they will drop it off at your Airbnb and pick it up on the day that you leave. So it's so convenient, it's so worth it. I loved the service. So I would highly recommend, if you're doing the Airbnb thing, especially in the US, go the like BabyQuip route. And then my last little point and my last little tip that I wanted to share was items that we loved and items that we like brought with us. So we brought our monitors. It was really important for me to like have some space from the girls and not feel like I had to like be around them when they were napping or sleeping. So we did bring our video monitors, and so that way like I could go out to the pool and I could be in other areas of the Airbnb and enjoy myself and still feel like I was on vacation, but I could see the girls. We did rent a few things, like I said, from like BabyQuip, so we had all that ready to go. I brought certain things like sheets and little like white hand towels, tons of burp cloths, like things that you use on a regular basis. I did end up bringing a lot of that stuff because we were basically like going to live our life in another house. So the stuff that I used like at home, I wanted to have access to when we were there, because they're still gonna go through the same routines of like feeding and sleeping and playing and whatnot. We use the Dr. Brown's bottles, so I brought all of my own bottles, and I brought our formula, and I purchased these travel formula holders. They're like a circle and they have like 3 inserts, so I had 2 of them, so they would hold like the formula for us when I was like on the go, or just like to easily like pour it in the water and shake it. And we used distilled water like I mentioned. I did purchase some like fun little toys that they hadn't seen before, so a lot of like spinners. I got a lot of like teething related items because like they're at the stage where everything is going in the mouth now, so getting a lot of those that they can like hold rings so that I could like hang toys from different places so that they could see things. We did bring, this is super random, but we brought what are they called? Butterfly clips and chip bag clips, because we brought blackout curtains, which you can get off Amazon. There's like so many, it's like literally just like a black sheet, so to speak. You can use garbage bags, like you can use whatever, but a dark room was really important for us. And because the room in the Airbnb is not configured the way your own house is, we brought like these clips to clip up the blackout curtains. We also used the chip bag clips, which is funny, for when we were doing like stroller nap walks. We would just put like a muslin blanket on top and just like clip them so they stayed in place from the wind. So just like little knack things so that you can like be on the go with your baby and not feel like you're confined to home. Like I said, we use the carriers a ton, so that was a must. I would also recommend, like I said, getting just like a small umbrella style stroller so that you're not having this like big honkin' thing with you, unless you want to, that's okay too. But we found that it was like so easy to travel just with like a smaller stroller. We did bring our sound machine from home, so the one that they use in their room, we kept that one in the room. And then I brought two, because we have twins, portable sound machines. And again, when we were like on the go and going for naps, I would just like pop that sound machine, cover them, and they would be out cold and they would just go to sleep. So those were like a few little things that we loved having with us and we kind of used all the time. But for the most part, like I said, the girls just kind of like soaked up their surroundings and enjoyed just like being out and about, not necessarily like doing anything specific. And so that was a big realization for me, to feel like, okay, I don't have to like keep them on this play mat all the time doing all this stuff. They can just like be amongst us and have a good time. So I think that's like all my tips in terms of like the stuff that we brought and the stuff that we enjoyed, and tips for traveling with a baby and navigating that whole life. I will say that your travel days become a gong show of a day. Like, don't think that you're gonna stay on track with naps and feedings and you're kind of just like all over the place, and just like that is okay. Babies can reset. So once you do that bath and go to sleep, the next day you can get back on track with the routines that you have at home and the schedules and all that stuff. So I would say that they are super adaptable and we have to give them more credit, some more kudos. But we had such a good trip. It was honestly such a good time. It was exactly what we needed. The weather was perfection. Florida is absolutely beautiful. It was so nice to be in the sunshine and I'm so happy that we did it. I hope these tips are helpful for you if you were going on a trip, thinking about going on a trip with your baby. Like, do it. Everything I've heard is like essentially before they are mobile, that is the easiest time to travel with your baby, because once they get moving, you are like following that baby around everywhere. So take advantage if you financially can, and if it's in the cards for you, I highly suggest taking your baby, traveling with them, and creating those memories. So thank you so much for watching. If there's other videos that you want in terms of twins and navigating life as a twin mom, let me know in the comments below, but I will see you guys in my next video.